2001, I was living on a deactivated Army post called Fort Ord in Monterey, California. And I had just woken up, and my routine was always, when I woke up in the morning, to turn on the TV to watch the weather. And I knew something immediately was different. I didn't expect anything to be wrong, but I knew something was different because instead of the local news being on, when I turned on the television, I always watched an NBC affiliate, and the Today Show was on because Katie Couric and Matt Lauer were talking. And at first I think I thought that I had missed my alarm and I woke up really late, and so I double checked the time to make sure that it was really when I should be waking up at 6 or whatever and not 7. And when I confirmed that the time was right, and as I was listening, I could hear that something terrible had happened in New York City, and had starting to realize that something was wrong that day.
So when you did find out what happened, how did that make you feel?
Well, I had heard that there was a plane that had hit one of the World Trade Centers towers, and then as I was watching the NBC News, they were interviewing, talking with one of the correspondents who worked in the Pentagon, and at the very time when he was talking, the Pentagon was hit, and he heard a noise and felt like a little bit of a rumble, and then he put it back to Katie and Matt so that he could go investigate what was going on. And so at the time, my husband was in the military, and you know, since the Pentagon was hit, then I knew that it was something to do with the military, and that was before either of us had a cell phone. I didn't really know how I could get a hold of him. He was already gone to work for the day. He was learning his Chinese through the class at the Defense Language Institute on the Presidio of Monterey in California. And so immediately I was concerned about what that was going to mean for him. I was only married for a few months at that point, and new to the Army life, being an Army spouse, and so I really didn't have a good grasp on if he was going to be deployed, or if America was going to go to war, or you know, who was even doing this, and what the reaction was going to be. And so I was nervous, probably worried, scared, and I was isolated too, because I moved to California at the beginning of July, and this was happening in September, and I met a few people through work because I was teaching at a high school, but I really wouldn't consider that I had very many close friends yet. So if I was going to be able to feel comfortable, I would have to call people back home, my friends, in order to talk to them and to feel some sort of comfort from what was happening. So I remember one of the first phone calls I made that day. I went to school and I had a plan period in the morning, and I called my old high school where I had taught in Sheboygan prior to moving out to California, and talked to one of my friends, and you know, just let them know that everything was okay on the military base where we lived and stuff, and saw what their thoughts and feelings were where I used to teach.
So after you found out that Osama bin Laden, he admitted to doing it, how are your feelings towards him after that?
That's a good question. I remember that day, I had a lot of students who were asking about Afghanistan, and I remember that there was discussion about Osama bin Laden, but I think unfortunately I wasn't as well versed in some of those world events back that many years ago, and I don't think I really had a good grasp of who he was, or the role that he played in other world events, like how the United States at one time contracted with him to help situations that were occurring that we didn't want to have occur. So we had helped fund him and arm him with weapons and things like that in the past. So I don't know if I really had a strong feeling about him in particular, because I didn't really know very much about him at that time.
So, us being in this war, we feel that we're helping. Do you feel that we're helping by being in the war? And being
Oh, that is a very difficult question to answer.
Or what's your opinion on it?
Yeah. Well, I think that probably